Well, it seems I could not resist forever and I bought myself another pen. Oh yes. This one being the Jinhao 65. My initial impression is that it's a sharp metal stainless steel tube. That's what it feels like. So my favourite Jinhao fountain pen of all time is definitely the Jinhao 777, right? Which is essentially a Lamy Safari knockoff. Oh wow, that's really inky, isn't it? But the reason why I like this one so much is that it's just really easy to hold, very comfortable, excellent, ergonomic grip. Thank you, Lamy. But I did want something that was a bit more pocketable. Like, look how fat this is. This is a Chungus. Now, there is another Jinhao fountain pen. That is the Jinhao 35, which I have previously reviewed. And that also has a very nice, sleek, thin appearance. But unfortunately, after drawing with it for a while, I realized that I couldn't hold the Jinhao 35 for very long periods of time. Just because the grip section is a smooth, slippery metal. But this one, oh yes, does not use a smooth, slippery metal. Uses this plastic grip section. So I'm hoping that this will be a lot more comfortable to hold than the slippery metal part. To be honest, it doesn't feel like super grippy, but it feels a lot more grippy than polished steel, I tell you. Once again, I have purchased the extra fine model, the Jinhao 777, as I'm going to call it now. Also claims to be ultra fine, it's like a fine medium, really. It can be quite fine, especially when you turn it upside down, it's slightly finer. The nib does feel a bit more grippy than the other one, actually. So maybe I should get some ink between the nib and the paper, and then see how it feels. Once again, I'll be using the Platinum Carbon ink, which is my favourite. Oh yes. And there's not much ink in that bottle, so I better close the cap, turn it upside down, give it a bit of a shake, so it can fill up that nice little plastic reservoir that they include. Oh dear, an ink bubble. I hate the ink bubble. Wow, that came with a much larger than expected ink converter. That's pretty good. Big ink. Oh yes. Surprising, that ink converter was just large enough that I can actually feel the weight difference in the pen. After I filled it full of ink, that's, wow. And does it post well? It posts beautifully. Look at that giant long stainless steel tube. Now, if you think that doesn't look rather nice, I think you need help. Oh yes, look at that. Oh. Now, if I want to write with the thing, the grip section is in the perfect position, basically. But drawing with the thing, I want to grip it a bit further up the barrel, and well, I'm just scratching away at the slippery steel once again. So it's really only a writing pen, I would say. I like how there's a tiny little sphere underneath the pocket clip part. I mean, they could have just bent the pocket clip down here to complete it, but instead they welded a tiny little ball bearing under there, which I think looks rather cool. It's quite a tough pocket clip as well. Okay, I'm going to draw with this for a little while, or maybe I already have. I don't know how I'm going to edit this thing together, and then I'm going to tell you what it's like. Yes. More of a long-term review. Currently, I think it looks fantastic. Plus, it's also very comfortable to hold while posted. Like, that's really nice. This thing, on the other hand, though, I never post this thing, because you put it on the end, it's just like, whoa, it's a bit, top-heavy all of a sudden. Oh, hello there. So I use this pen for a few days. And as you can see, I did some drawing with it, as I usually do. This time I drew a quick and careless comic. I do really enjoy drawing comics in a quick and careless fashion. I just find it more fluid, easier, than I just delete all the mistakes I made later on after I scan it on my computer. I just find it helps because it lowers the cost of entry. Just how Jinhao lowers the cost of entering into the world of fountain pens. So anyway, I can think of very few things to say about this pen which is actually bad. I'm very tempted to compare it to the Jinhao 35, which I have purchased previously and also reviewed on this channel. Unfortunately, I can't compare it side by side because I lost my Jinhao 35. I put my usual platinum carbon black ink into it, and then I forgot about it for months, and then it never worked quite the same again. And then I repaired it to a acceptable level, and then I tried to give it away, and then in that process I lost the thing. So that's my sad story about the Jinhao 35. But I do prefer the 65 over the 35, just because it has a plastic pen grip, which is vaguely more grippy than the stainless steel body. Now, I must add a word of warning about the way I review pen grips and stuff, because it's just something highly subjective. I have largish hands, and the skin on my hands is quite dry and slippery. So because of that, I want the pen grip higher up on the barrel of the pen. And this grip is very close to where the nib is. I mean, it's okay for writing, but for drawing, it's just not very good at all, really. But I finally found something, a cheap little hack it is, that helps on any pen which doesn't have enough grip. I just got a cheap rubber band, and I just wrapped it around the barrel of the pen like 5 times, and now my fingers don't slip at all. It feels quite good. After doing that, the pen became extremely comfortable to draw with. Also, the ink flow in this pen is excellent. The nib, it feels very smooth. It's not the most smoothest nib I've ever felt in my life, but it is still excellent. So there you go. I have very little to complain about, to be honest. For like $4 or whatever it was, how much it cost, I can't remember. It's cheap. The only complaint I can think of, actually, is the very end of this pen. It just doesn't look very aesthetically pleasing. There are 4 little slots in the plastic end of the pen. I don't know what they're there for. At one stage I thought maybe they were like little plastic levers that kind of stick out slightly, so when you post the pen cap on the end of the pen, it grips better or something, but no, that doesn't seem to be the case. It's quite flat. They're just 4 slots cut into the end of the plastic part, so maybe it was to help in the manufacture of the pen, I'm not sure. Anyway, I just think that looked kind of ugly. Anyway, I've talked about pens enough now, so I will have to say goodbye until next time when I talk about pens some more. Yes, that's right. Pens are my